afternoon, good evening. So Dio at Apataki Theater, brought to you by Omidina Productions. This is episode 11, How Genealogy Affects Us Spiritually. And so we're going to talk about our ancestors today in detail. When it comes to our genealogy, it produces an ancestral foundation for us so that we are able to call on those people who are connected to us by blood and have made an oath through genealogically to assist us. Now, for those that don't have the luxury or the ability to trace ancestral lines, this is when you become anointed with a mission to create the history and the future of your ancestral line. It is up to you, to the environment in which you breed the next generations and the generations behind, because you don't have the knowledgeable support of those ancestors to call on them. And so this would lead you to lean more or depend more on your spiritual court as deposits or repositories of wisdom that can be passed on through your family. And we rely on the spiritual court in all hopes that the spiritual court will be an extension of the ancestral court, so that because those ancestors, because of an unfortunate circumstance, maybe a child was taken, a mother died, people move away, and this caused the blood lineages to be split. It now allows we now depend upon the spiritual foundation to seek out the ancestral people and collect the wisdom and information and the aspirations that bloodline has and pass them on. Now, there has been phenomena where people were able to necessarily connect families together based on mediumship, channeling, and a strong discourse between the spiritual world and the material. Now, our genealogy, so what happens is everyone is in a frenzy or a hysteria to run and go get their DNA tested to find out what tribe they belong to. That is part and parcel to the industry, but we don't get ourselves caught up in that because of the pitfall that maybe your ancestors defected from their tribe. Maybe they left. Maybe they were not in accordance with the laws or the philosophy of that society or that tribe, and they may have left. So we rely mainly on the ancestors in which that we can identify several generations back. If those who have the ability to go further back, it is a luxury. It is a stronger ancestral foundation, which can support the spiritual foundation. Because in the end, we all as human beings have to share the same DNA. So we're connected to each other irregardless of our hue, religious affiliations, last names, surnames. This has no regard on the fact that you may be related to someone. And so the genealogy is a tool, but we don't become fanatical about it in terms of seeking out or being handicapped without that information or that data. So, in this understanding the genealogy, the ones that we can identify and recognize, we must honor them irregardless of our beliefs in their contrast to the beliefs of those ancestors. If your ancestor was a slave master, it is of no concern to you for you to judge nor execute a sentence upon that spirit by way of ignoring them. We are in the nature of spreading light and prosperity to all. So even though this spirit, or this spirit in its time of life, may have been not the greatest of human beings, we as a connection and as an ethereal debt paying, that the fact that whatever acts that they made directly affect who we are, we acknowledge them. So everyone goes, oh, well, I'm pure Wolof and I'm pure Yoruba and all that. That's kind of hard pressed, because even our phenotypes only account for 1% of our hue and physical attributes. There are people right now who live in Nigeria who have DNA that connects them to people in the Slavic countries. So we understand that people have always been nomadic, have always miscegenated, culturally, ethnically. So it is a disservice to us to neglect our Caucasian ancestors, albeit we do not agree with their philosophy at the time, but that's the same as a lot of things. When if you're a part of the aristocracy, then you have a different philosophy than those that are of the layman and the peasant. And so there's always contrast about people's actions and their beliefs and their morality. So it would be a detriment to you when in searching for spirituality that one becomes judgmental. We don't have that right. We leave that burden to the creator or the karmic forces that will punish those who necessarily violate the laws of the universe. It is not our burden nor authority to engage with people about that. And so we leave that to God. We leave that to karma. Us honoring these ancestors, we are opening up the possibility that they are here to assist us in overcoming white society by way of them giving us certain intuitions about them. And so we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We continue to honor these people because they are a part of our lineage, and what they have done may have been something that was malevolent in that time, but over time, after that excrement decays and it feeds the soil, it becomes a mushroom, and so on and so forth. At some point, it benefits the forest. And so the same way that the evil deeds of our ancestors at some point will fertilize the potential for a benevolent future. So we don't just dismiss these people, because first you have to put your policy back a few steps and put your spirituality first. And so your spirituality is directly attached to your mortality. How do I live? What will happen to me when I die? Will I be forgiven? Will I be punished? Is there an afterlife? Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? These are all what fuels spirituality. And so spirituality is essentially fueled by our mortality. And our mortality carves out our way of morality. And so the morality of a a society is different from place to place, okay? Because it is based on our mortality. In meaning, if you live in a society where there are a few people and the society is looking to populate the tribe, then young girls who have received their menstrual cycle will be ready to engage in courtship. In another society where this is not a necessity, this may be seen as a immoral act. But based on their mortality, because they need to keep producing people, that morale is changed within their paradigm. And so after you have your morality, this gives way to your policy, and your policy is based on how you live amongst the people. What are the laws and the edicts that one must follow in order to be considered a citizen, right? And so all of this plays into us because the morality will be shaped by the ethnic group or the culture that is prevailing at that time. And so understanding that, we alleviate ourselves and our ancestors of guilt that they may have been following the morality of the time and the era. And so again, we're not here to judge them, we just honor them so that in their next incarnation they can come back better and possibly fix some of these transgressions.